Hello everyone and welcome to this installment of the Daily Cannon Tactics Board. Stephen Bradley here, bringing you the tactical tweaks and quirks that came from Arsenal's eventual 3-1 win over Crystal Palace in the Premier League on Wednesday night. And I was going to say interesting, but if you watched the game for 90 minutes, I think interesting might be the last word that might come to your head, because Arsenal did display a lot of patience in this game. They had a plan, and good God, did they stick to it. It's another one of those instances where maybe Mikel Arteta could have acted a little bit sooner, but in the end, what he worked on worked kind of ish. But just before we start the video, thanks to everyone who subscribed after the last video. If you do like these videos, again, please feel free to like the video. If you want to comment, we're slowly building a community of people that like talking about tactics and like leaving comments below, asking if I've seen this or if this should happen or if that should happen. The more the merrier. And if you do want these, videos in your inbox on a regular basis, either the day of or the day after the game, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell that alerts you that's in your inbox, and these will be getting to you as soon as possible. Again, any support, any help is greatly appreciated. I thought when we started this in January, we might have, if we were lucky, 150, 200 subscribers, trying to start off small. We're almost at 500. It's mad. It's crazy. So thank you. And hopefully the plan is, during the summer, during the Euros and, Copa America, any big games that have Arsenal players in it or a big England game, I will be uploading, so content will be going through the summer. So don't worry about, Sunday evening coming, you getting a video and going, oh no, we're not going to get any tactics board videos for 3 months. You won't. We're going to make sure content goes right through the summer. And, we've got a couple of interesting plans in the works for how we can do content, maybe start getting guests on. So, all in all, maybe more interest in what's coming up in tactics board next 3 months than what happened in the 90 minutes at Selhurst Park, because oh boy, was this a dull game to watch. I mean, I can sum it up rather quickly right here. Arsenal 68% possession of the ball, 6 shots. 6. And it's not like they worked the goalkeeper all the time, because the goalkeeper made no saves in 90 minutes in a game that Arsenal won 3-1. It was not a hustle and bustle, energetic Premier League footballing game. It was patience. It was taking your time. It was waiting for the right opportunity. It was looking at the defence and seeing if they're out of place, and if they're not out of place, then rotating and starting again. And if that wasn't on, rotating and starting again. And if that wasn't on, rotate, and so on and so on. To the point where between Pepe's opening goal and the 75th minute, Arsenal took no shots. Never mind on target, just none. Like, it wasn't even passive. Like, again, they had a lot of the ball. Crystal Palace were, trying to catch them out on the break and, get something from set pieces, and it worked. But Arsenal were playing to a plan, and they didn't deviate from it. And again, I can criticize the fact that they didn't deviate from it, but not deviating from it paid off in the end, but not in the way I think Arteta intended for it to. So what was the plan? Plan was very simple. I mean, with Tierney back in the side now, with actually having a left back, we can't have the usual trick as what we were doing with Xhaka, playing Xhaka here and then Chambers sauntering up the field, Holding going here, centre back going here, and then Xhaka playing almost as like a third centre back but pushing forward to join the midfield. You can't do that with Tierney. He's Kieran Tierney. He is a swashbuckling, bombarding left back. So instead, what you do is, instead of Chambers being the one who bombs up the field, it's Tierney who goes there. Gabriel splits left, Holding goes to the middle, and Chambers goes right. Saka cuts into this inside left space. Smith Rowe, who is, on paper is down as the centre attacking midfielder, but in essence plays that inside right space. And Pepe's there, and then anytime Elneny comes in, Holding will go there, and Chambers will bomb on, and Partey will sit. And you end up having this sort of, 6 up front at times, but usually 5, with Elneny and Partey. And you end up attacking a lot like this. It's the 3-2-5 that we've seen since Xhaka had to play left back, frankly. It's just instead of the right back going up, it's the left back. And what Roy Hodgson did in his last game as Crystal Palace manager at home was very simple. He just pushed Townsend here and he pushed Zaha here. And when they were defending, especially, it was like this. And their job was simple. Their job was to give McCarthy and Jeremy Schlupp a bit of help on the wings. Their job was to make sure that the fullback was never isolated. Because they didn't want Pepe one-on-one with Mitchell, who played well. You know, as a young prospect, he looked excellent, frankly. And they didn't want Saka one-on-one with Ward, because obviously. And it kind of worked. You know, like Arsenal were frustrated a lot of the time. A lot of the time, Arsenal would get the ball to Tierney, he'd pass it inside to Saka, he'd bomb on, Townsend would follow him, Ward would cut inside, Saka would look around, McCarthy would stand there, Kouyaté would sit in the middle and wait, Aubameyang would have to come deep, Smith Rowe would come deep, and Lenny would come here for the ball, Partey would come here, and it'd get rotated to Smith Rowe, who would give it to Pepe, and then Zaha and Schlupp are here with Mitchell tucking in, and now there's nowhere for Pepe to go. He'd give it back to Smith Rowe, who'd give it to Partey, who'd give it to Elneny, who'd give it to Tierney, who would have come back, and Townsend's marking. That was the pattern, especially from after Pepe's goal to the 75th minute. It was just this, over and back, over and back, over and back. And they would especially do it on the right-hand side. And to the point where if you look at Arsenal's heat map, I mean, look at this. Like, if you've ever played on a snooker table that has a roll that goes down, like, this is what this looks like. It looks like there's a roll going down towards the bottom corner pocket. You know, like, the ball is being here, and the reason for that was because Pepe would be here, Smith Rowe would play in this inside right that he likes to, Partey would come here, and Chambers, because Benteke was standing here and there was no pressure on the ball, Arsenal would end up like this. And we can see here, look, Chambers would have the ball here, and then he would have the ball, you know, there. But that means Partey would have the ball here. So Partey and Chambers. There's Partey and Chambers there. Let's add Pepe. And now let's add Smith Rowe. You can see the problem. It's just going back and forth in this triangle all the time. So Pepe would do what he usually does. And for the first time, I'm actually going to click on this and actually mean it. A tactics board first, after I think 30 odd episodes, I actually want an arrow on this player. Because we know Pepe by now. He cuts in. And as a result, he's always doing this. Chambers obviously wants to go here. But because Schlupp and Zaha are covering there, Pepe has to beat Mitchell, but then he runs into those two. So either Pepe has to do this himself, which he's okay at, but then you're asking him to cross on his right foot, and if you ask any defender in the league, if you're going to give Pepe space, it's on his right foot, they take it. They'll say, yeah, that's no bother. We'll take Pepe on his weaker foot all game long. If he beats us like that, fair enough. We'll take those odds. Because they're far better odds than him beating us on his left foot. And so if he beats Mitchell, and he didn't, frankly, too often, Mitchell was a good, a good defender on him. He kept him in his place. But if he then, Schlupp and Zaha were there. And the plan, I suppose, was that eventually Crystal Palace's defence would just keep coming over here, and then giving Tierney and Saka space. And whilst that's kind of how the goal came about, it's not by design, because when Arsenal scored, it was after doing this for 20 minutes. I can get rid of that arrow now. Pepe had a couple of chances to beat his man, not really done it, but it kept going right here because Zaha is not a wing-back. Zaha is a forward, and an exceptionally talented one like that. Does he go down too easily? Yes. Does he get fouled a lot? Yes. But with Smith Rowe's constant running, Schlupp couldn't really stay here. And Zaha, as a winger, doesn't have the defensive stability, doesn't have the defensive mindset to constantly go back, because As a forward, it's in his head to go, right, okay, if the defenders get it, I want to be here. Because if I get the ball here, it's 3-on-3 basically, if Townsend can do the same thing, and I want to counter and I want to score because I'm a forward. So he was always playing with his weight on the front of his feet. It meant that he was always looking to do this instead of to do this. He was getting back and he was doing good work, but he wasn't doing it consistently. So as a result, he'd be here, Schlupp would be over here, Kouyaté would be here. So anytime Arsenal did have the ball on the left, it would immediately get switched by Tierney or Elneny wide out here, and then Pepe's one-on-one with Mitchell. And as a result, because this kept happening, they had to do this. And the one time Arsenal actually tried to attack down the left, they scored. Because the defence had overcommitted. They'd gone too far to the right. And the mistake they made was Tierney gets in behind, gets the ball to Saka, and then Saka's away. But Ward and McCarthy and Tompkins, they all cover him. They all think he's going to do that way. What does he do? He backheels it, and then Tierney's here. And then Pepe, because he was here, because he was running in, Schlupp is now covered, Cahill is now covered, and Kouyaté is now covered, which means Pepe is now here. And with Aubameyang running in, Cahill has to cover Aubameyang. Mitchell has to kind of respect the fact that there's going to be someone behind him, so he can't get in here quick enough. Pepe's free, and it's 1-0. And it was an old saying of the Invincibles that they would destroy down the left but probe down the right, because they'd have the ball down here with Lauren basically playing as a midfielder, and Ljungberg here, and this would be Dennis Bergkamp, and they consistently try to get behind here in the hopes that the midfield and the defence would do exactly what they did here. They would all come over here. Back then, everyone was nearly playing 4-4-2. And then two forwards. And then eventually, here be Ashley Cole, here be Robert Pires, and here be Thierry Henry. And it's like, uh-oh, look at how much room they have. Like, it's kind of like that, but Arteta wasn't getting the defence to come over here to make room for Tierney and Saka. He was doing this because he thought that Zaha wouldn't be able to maintain his defensive structure. He thought that the threat of Tierney and Saka out here would keep McCarthy and Kouyaté and Townsend occupied, and that he could get basically 3-on-3s here. He was trying to overload this side, but by not overloading this side, the defence just tried to cover over a little bit and got caught once. And this is why I criticise Arteta as much as I do, because it worked. It's the old saying that correlation doesn't equal causation. But it doesn't apply here, because overloading on the right caused Palace to consistently move over here because Zaha wasn't covering properly, which meant that they had to commit an extra man, which was giving Aubameyang was playing through the centre the whole game, which was giving Tierney and Saka plenty of room, and Elneny, who had also had a decent game, plenty of room to go through here. But I can tell that the plan was always to attack the right, because when Arsenal attack, me personally, if I'm playing two insides like this, if I'm playing two inside number 10s like Arsenal were playing, okay, the gaps I want them to attack are these. I want them in this channel. I want them running in behind here and here. Because if my winger is dragging the fullback out here, and Tierney acting as the left winger in essence is dragging Ward out here, the space for these two players to occupy is insane. And if they end up getting covered by centre defensive midfielders, then Partey and Elneny have a field day. Yes, you're 3-on-2 if you lose the ball. But these are the chances that you have to take if you're going to score 3-4 goals in a game. You have to take chances. It's just the way it is, but this team isn't built to take chances. This team is not built to make 20 chances in a game. It's built to make 4. And as a result, Saka was not running in these channels at all. Smith Rowe was not running in. He was doing it occasionally, but he wasn't doing it to get the ball. He was doing it to draw Schlupp away so that Pepe was one-on-one with Mitchell. Saka, occasionally, when Crystal Palace had pushed up a bit and had a bit of possession of the ball, which they didn't have much, but when they did, that was really the only time Saka made any sort of run, because without the ball, Arsenal retreated 4-3-3 and did this. And just made basically Palace knock it over and over and over again into this channel here and this channel here. As we can see by their remarkable touch map of not wanting the ball in the middle of the field in Arsenal's half, except for set pieces. They wanted it down the left and down the right. Went down. You can see the patterns of play. It would, Kouyaté to McCarthy to Townsend, who'd knock it back. Benteke would stand here, try and occupy positions. Zaha would try and get in the left. There's Zaha. There's Benteke. There's Andros Townsend cutting in. Like, that was it. That was all they wanted to do. Just get the ball into Townsend or Zaha as quickly as possible, and hopefully they can beat someone on the break. That was it. So anytime Arsenal did have a chance to counter, Saka, always went here. Always, always, always. Again, to the right. And that's how I know that attacking the right-hand side of Crystal Palace's defence was the plan, because everything they did was attacking going this way. And the problem with this is that even though Arsenal had shown an ability to destroy Crystal Palace's right-hand side with our left-hand attack, they never utilised it again. Like, Tierney had 1 or 2 crosses, but that was it. But all the play was here on the right. All the play was focused on Mitchell being beaten by Pepe. And even to the point where Arsenal's first sub only reinforced that plan, because Odegaard was brought on, Smith Rowe was pushed to the left, and Odegaard for 15 minutes, and I am not saying this lightly, and I am not exaggerating for effect, but Odegaard for 15 minutes did nothing. Arsenal suddenly found themselves unable to keep the ball at all for 15 minutes, because Odegaard doesn't do what Smith Rowe does, which is run. Odegaard, I don't want to use the word hide, but Odegaard loves being here. It's very Mesut Ozil-esque. He loves finding space. He loves making himself available for the ball. But Arsenal didn't need someone else to be making themselves available for the ball. They needed someone to be getting on the ball. They didn't want Odegaard to be going here looking for the ball. They wanted Odegaard to be going here looking for the ball. They wanted Smith Rowe to be running behind, and they wanted Aubameyang to be running behind, and they wanted Pepe to be running behind, but they weren't. Because, again, they were told to attack the right-hand side. So Odegaard was here. So taking off Saka basically eliminated Tierney's ability to go down here, because everyone knew Smith Rowe was going left. Was going to their left. And then you can basically put Kouyaté on Smith Rowe and go, right, well, he's cancelled. McCarthy can sit here, Schlupp can sit back here, and now suddenly everyone's covered again. So, what did Arsenal do to counter this? Well, they made 2 more subs. And these are interesting subs. Because At least I'll give baby. And then Tierney came off for Martinet. Because for the last 12 minutes for the game, Arsenal pretty much played that. Almost a 2-2-1-5. It was bizarre because Xhaka was both playing centre midfield and left back at the same time. Like here's his heat map. Like it's a little bit, a little bit blurred, but you see his dots here where he was playing very much on the touchline, but he's also in the centre of the park and he's also running down the right. Yes, he had 18 touches in 12 minutes, but he was asked to basically cover all of this ground here. And then when he was here, Gabriel would fit in, and then occasionally Chambers would bomb on, Holding would go here, Gabriel would come to the middle, and Xhaka would play there. So you'd end up like 3-1-6 at times. And it helped Arsenal keep the ball a bit because Xhaka was, in better form at keeping the ball that Partey was today. But again, Arsenal were consistently attacking the right-hand side. It was long balls from Xhaka in here, and then he was getting it to Odegaard here. And they were hoping that Pepe, who played well, would beat Mitchell and either release Chambers or get a shot in himself. And once again, they didn't score from breaking this part of Crystal Palace's defence. They did it by breaking this part. Because Odegaard did one good thing all game. Again, it was very Mesut Ozil-like, where you don't see him for 30 minutes, you go, why did they bring him on? And then he produces a wonder ball when he finds a little bit of space, because guess what? This man does not care for instructions. This man is not a winger. This man is not when he was brought on with 15 minutes to go and I saw him running up and down the wing like this, my head was in my hands because he's not a winger. He's not someone who needs the chalk on his boots, as the old saying goes. He's not someone who wants to beat his man. His job is to get from here into here as quickly as possible. And the first time he did it was in the 91st minute. And the first time he did it, Odegaard found him and he scored. And it just shows how difficult it is to play the way Man City play, because Arsenal have been trying it now for a month. And when Arsenal run in behind, when they are constantly dragging players out of position, like what Manchester City did to them a couple of months back, it's impossible to defend. But Smith Rowe isn't Kevin De Bruyne. Gabriel Martinelli isn't Raheem Sterling. Martin Odegaard isn't Bernardo Silva. And Pepe may be in a couple of years Riyad Mahrez. But until they are, you can't play this unless you absolutely run your backside off. And for the 25th minute until the 91st minute, Arsenal did not run behind. And yet, the two times they did, literally in the whole game, the two times someone made a run in behind from the left-hand side, they scored. Even though the game plan was to get the ball out the right-hand side as often as possible. And even, Pepe finally getting the better of Mitchell and Schlupp and getting in and scoring the third himself. It's just one of those games where the plan is the right plan, but for the wrong reasons. The Arsenal were attacking Crystal Palace's left-hand side in an attempt to get Pepe and Smith Rowe on the ball as much as possible. But because of their lack of running behind the lines and because of their lack of willingness to get the ball out on the left-hand side as much, they didn't capitalise on a weakness in Crystal Palace's defence, apart from the two times which they did where they scored. So, yeah, an interesting game to analyse, not an interesting game to watch. And it's going to be interesting to see if he keeps this up again against Brighton, because look, are Arsenal playing well right now? They're playing okay. They're not ripping up any trees. They're certainly not looking like, title contenders at all. But, you look at the league table since the start of the season, they're 9th. And they've got the 7th best goal difference in the league. If you look at the league table since Christmas, they're 2nd. Like, what do you do? Do you just automatically throw out the last 13 games, that didn't count, the first 13, 14 games of the season, and you go, well, those are write-offs, we were awful then? Or do you take the season as a whole and you go, we're ninth? It's a tricky one. Arsenal aren't playing fantastic football right now, but they've won the last four in a row. It's nothing is going to be easy about this Arsenal side, is it? It's going to be interesting. If you didn't enjoy this video, again, feel free to leave a like on it. If you saw something that you agreed with or disagreed with, feel free to comment. We'll get back to you. And yeah, if you want these videos in your inbox on a regular basis, please subscribe. Any help is greatly appreciated. Any support is of great benefit to us. How YouTube works. The higher the numbers go, the better it is. And yeah, we just hope that over the course of the season we provided some great content for you, and over the coming weeks we'll be providing even more. And yeah, we will talk to you on Sunday. Good luck.